30 casual questions to deeply get to know a guy you're interested in. How can you be sure if you're suited to someone if you don't know the small details about them? Learn some questions to get to know a guy and ask away. The best casual questions to get to know a guy and make him open up to you. Buckle your seatbelts, ladies. These questions will dig deep into this dude's emotions and future plans. 1. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a great question because it is relatively soon, but not too far. You will find out if he is ambitious and motivated in his career. Generally, this matters a lot, especially if you are career-driven as well. 2. What about in 10 years? This question is a little bit more intense because depending on how old they are at the time, this means they will be a real adult doing adult things. If you are even asking, it means you are thinking long-term with this fella. Proceed with caution. 3. What is your biggest accomplishment? This question tells you about how motivated they are and what motivates them in life. 4. What is your favorite childhood memory? This is one of those questions to get to know a guy that gives you some insight into what their childhood was like. Without digging for answers, you could potentially learn if they had a fantastic childhood or if it was rough. This allows them to give up as much or as little as they choose. 5. Who are you closest to in your family? It says a lot about someone once you know whether they are closer with their mom, dad, sisters, or brothers, etc. If they are closer with their mom or female family members, they could be more sensitive and respectful of women. If they are closer to their dad or male family members, they could be more masculine and have more difficulty discussing their emotions. 6. What is your biggest fear? This could be a funny answer, like mice, or a deep answer, like being forgotten. 7. What is one thing that you would never want your parents to know? Again, this could be something funny, like they had sex in their bed in high school, or it could be that they were addicted to cocaine. Could go either way at this point. 8. Describe your dream life. This is literally the perfect question because you can hear how they envision their future and you get to decide if you could imagine yourself sharing that life with them or not. 9. If money wasn't an issue, where would you travel and why? Everyone really likes talking about traveling, so he will adore this question. It also tells you a lot about a person in terms of the types of landscapes they like, the cultures they're pulled towards, etc. Let's be honest, if they're a ski and snow kind of guy and you can't stand anything below 90 degrees, you're just not a great match. 10. Share your first-time story. Well, you might get a surprise here. He may just laugh it off, go into explicit details in the hope of making you horny, or you may just find out he's red-faced because he's still a virgin. 11. Do you have any regrets in life? Their answer could be I have no regrets in life because everything happens for a reason which you could love, or they could tell you some deep, personal things. 12. Is the glass half full or half empty? Is he an optimist or a pessimist? 13. What would you say is your biggest turn on about a woman? Listen carefully. Does he describe something about you? 14. Your biggest turn off? Again, does he describe something about you? Okay, maybe not a score this time. 15. What is the hardest thing mentally you have ever had to go through? He might describe the death of a family member or his best friend. Just be prepared here because it could get very emotional. You might be opening up a fresh wound with this question to get to know a guy. So proceed cautiously. 16. Describe your perfect partner. He is basically going to hand you everything he is looking for in a partner in a pretty pink box with a bow on it. Does he describe you? 17. What is your ideal first date? This question gives you insight into his romantic side. Also, this will tell you if he is a down-to-earth guy that just wants to go to the beach or order pizza and watch a movie, or if he is extravagant and wants to take you out to a nice dinner with candlelight and such. 18. If someone gave you $1 million right now, what would you do with it? Does he give some to charity? Does he keep all of it? Spend it all in a week? This question to ask a guy and get to know him is just so cliche, but it still reveals his inner workings. 19. What's your guilty pleasure? Porn? Social media? Dark movies and shows on Netflix? What is it? This allows you to know what he spends most of his times doing. 20. How do you imagine your future family? Does he want children? Can he envisage getting married? Could he imagine family dinners every night? 21. Who is your role model? Knowing who he models his behavior after is super important. This will shape the relationship that you might possibly be entering into. 22. How would you describe love? Maybe he has never actually experienced love. Perhaps you'll be his first. Maybe his idea of love is a very superficial, shallow definition. You will learn it all with these questions to get to know a guy. 23. What is one thing that you have learned about yourself from past relationships? Are you a firm believer in the fact that every relationship teaches you something? If he hasn't learned anything from his past relationships, then perhaps he lacks personal insight, i.e., he does nothing wrong. 24. What trait do you consider the most important in a partner? Most people will say honesty or faithfulness, but it's interesting to ask. This is one of the more searching questions to get to know a guy because it tells you what is important to him. He might surprise you. 25. What makes you super angry? This can give you some very interesting insights into what he can tolerate versus what makes his blood boil. It's always fun to learn these things and of course, tells you what to avoid. 26. If you could change one trait about yourself, what would you choose? Nobody is perfect, and the fact he can choose a trait tells you that he knows this and he's working towards self-improvement, in some way at least. If he tells you he's perfect and wouldn't change anything, he's lying. 27. What is your favorite movie of all time? His favorite movies don't just reveal how he likes wasting his time, it actually talks about his core values and what makes him who he is. Use this question to get to know his favorite movies, and chances are, the lead male characters are people he associates with or aspires to be. 28. Who is your favorite actor? Is it an action specialist? A deep and meaningful actor? A comedic genius? This is one of the questions to get to know a guy that will give you a real insight into what he finds entertaining. 29. Do you really like your job? This is a loaded question and one that could take the conversation further. He may say that he loves his job and tell you why. Or he may say he hates it or doesn't enjoy it generally and what he would like to do. 30. If you could relocate and live somewhere else, where would you choose? This is a little like the travel question because it tells you about the types of locations he likes. Again, sub-zero temperatures could be a serious red flag for you. Now that you have a lengthy list of questions to get to know a guy, you can test them out on that new relationship or even one you are already in. It's always fun to get to know someone better.